Can we get some yes on the chat, please? I think people are raising hand, but is it like they don't have access to the chat?
Kana, can you help us check with that, or if other people can help type some answers on the chat? I
The
think
chat
chat function
function.
is disabled right now.
Can I make it everyone? Is it fine for Kana? Is it fine for you? Oh, I just changed it to everyone. Oh, uh,
Okay, perfect.
everybody. Yeah, everybody can. Yes, great. Thank
Perfect.
you.
So let's get straight into it so we can maximize this next 40-ish minutes. Just so in case you guys don't know, Palo IT, a quick introduction. So we are an IT consulting company. Set maybe next slides as well. Um, so we work with different customer clients to provide end-to-end consulting and also projects, anything related to technology, innovations, and also, of course, AI. So next two slides. Yes, so Palo IT not only in Hong Kong, globally, we also have around 18 offices across 10 countries. So we have in total around 650 consultants, and we're also based here in Hong Kong with the headquarters here. So next slide. Yeah, so other than projects, our consultants are very passionate in the topics or their technical skills that they're working on. For example, Seth not only would work on AI projects to actually build AI products with clients, but he also spent a lot of time doing training across like different topics. So we have specialized consultants on all these kind of topics as well. These are some of the customers that we work closely with. If your company is also on some of these logo, hello again. If not, hopefully down the line we can also have opportunity to work with you guys. So I'll just pass it to Seth to introduce himself, a little bit background, and jump straight into the lunch and learn sessions today.
Sure. Thanks, Rachel, for the introduction. Myself, Satyajit Patnaik. A little bit difficult to pronounce, but you have the entire time of this workshop so that you can save my name. Just find me on LinkedIn in case you want to get connected with me. I have around 14 years of experience, 13 plus years of experience. Almost from the past 9 to 10 years, I have been working in the space of data, especially data analytics. Started with data analytics with Power BI with Tableau, but later on, I have also worked extensively on machine learning, deep learning, computer vision, and recently exploring generative AI since the last 2.5 years. We have built multiple products for Palo and for Palo clients. In case in the future you would like to get connected with us for product building or even for workshops, feel free to reach out. Okay, so before getting started with the workshop, let's have a quick voting. Not exactly voting. Try to rate yourself on the knowledge of generative AI. So you can see on the screen you have four options: beginner, intermediate, advanced, expert. Feel free to take 1 minute, see what each of these descriptions are, and just write down the numbers in the chat box. One, two, okay. Hmm, okay. Okay. So I see a majority of one and twos, not really some threes and fours, which is completely fine. Makes my life easier for so that I can just focus more on the very beginner friendly topics. Um, Great. So, yeah, no worries. If you have zero knowledge on generative AI, I'm pretty much sure at least after today's 30-40 minutes of session, you will have at least some intermediate level of knowledge, and somebody who is at intermediate, you will potentially have something at 2.5, like towards the level of advanced. So, nothing to worry about. Now, talking about what skills or topics interests you the most, if you are aware of these terminologies, just try to write down. One is for NLP and deep learning, prompt engineering, understanding LLMs. If you have knowledge on multiple topics like 2, 3, and 4, just write down 2, 3, 4. So, and I'm having a look at the chat box. Uh, You can write down multiple things if you want to. Yeah. 1, 3, okay. NLP, deep learning, understanding LLMs, LangChain framework, okay. YK knows everything. That's great. 1 and 2, prompt engineering. Prompt engineering is something many of you might be knowing, right? I mean, generative AI is not new. Everybody knows about prompt engineering. That's great. How to incorporate AI in business. That's really wonderful. Okay, so majority of you understand the concepts of 1, 2, 3, 4. That's great. So let's quickly get started without wasting much time. We have 30-40 minutes left for this session, and then we can go for a Q&A. Quickly talking about AI. Many of you might not know about this, but many of you might know this. So what is AI? AI is artificial intelligence, right? Something that is artificially achieved. um, Natural intelligence is something that you inherit from your parents, but artificial intelligence is something that you artificially achieve, and there are different areas of study that basically leads to AI. Now, one of the studies is machine learning. One of the study are natural language processing, computer vision, robot process automations, autonomous vehicles, various other things actually helps you to achieve AI. Okay, so machine learning is one of them, and we are focusing more on machine learning because generative AI is nothing but a part of machine learning. So inside machine learning, you have deep learning. Inside deep learning, you have generative AI. Okay, so to begin with, the very first question that people usually ask is how to get started with generative AI. Now, you can easily get started with generative AI by bypassing machine learning and deep learning, no doubt about it. You will be able to understand multiple concepts in generative AI directly, but can you implement a project? Yes, you can. Without even knowing machine learning and deep learning, you can implement a generative AI project. You can productionize it for your company, for your business. But of course, ML and DL plays a vital role because these are some prerequisites. So when you join a company or when you are working for a company, it's expected that if you are already working in generative AI, that means you already have the knowledge of machine learning and deep learning, right? So generative AI is something like learning words, and ML and DL are something like learning alphabets. So the prerequisite is you already know about various alphabets. That's why you are able to write down the words, right? But to implement Gen AI applications, ML and DL is not a hard prerequisite. This is a AI landscape. As I told you that multiple areas of researches are there, which basically leads to AI. Machine learning is one of them. Natural language processing, robots, robot process automations, computer vision, translation, text to speech, speech to text, neural networks, and various other things. Now, let's talk about generative AI. Okay. Now, if I divide AI, AI will be of two types. One of them is predictive AI and one of them is generative AI. So, AI has been with us since a long time. Everybody knows about Netflix, everybody uses Netflix, everybody uses Amazon Prime, everybody knows about Alexa, Siri, Google Maps. Everything in the background is AI. Either it is machine learning, natural language processing, or some other concepts, but eventually it's AI, right? Yeah, PPTs will be sent to you, nothing to worry about. So we have been using AI. Everybody is using AI on a daily basis, right? Nowadays we have ChatGPT. Everybody uses ChatGPT. But many of you might not know exactly what's happening behind ChatGPT, how ChatGPT is able to give you a proper response. And that is what we are going to learn into the today's session. You will be able to understand how the things work behind behind the actual thing, right? So generative AI is new. Over the past 2.5 years, the market has erupted, especially in the field of generative AI. 2024 was the year of trial and error. Trust me, many companies were getting their hands dirty on generative AI. Many companies were struggling to get the return on investment. They were not able to understand whether generative AI can give us ROI or not, but they were still trying it out. 2025 is the year of implementation. This is the year where companies have actually started implementing. They have realized their potential in getting the return on investment. So 2025 and 2026 is the year of implementation, no hit and trials. And again, there are some new topics that has come in this field, which is agentic AI, which is nothing but generative AI, but in an automation way. Let's say you want to automate something. There is a website, you want to automate the scraping part, you want to scrape multiple pages from the website, you want to create some documentation, you want to feed that documentation to your model so that the model understands everything from the website. Can you automate it? Yes, you can automate it. The entire automation is basically called as agentic AI. That means you're automating everything, and then there are some agents to do different kind of activities. Agents for scrolling, sorry, for scraping, agents for feeding the data into a large language model, agents for getting the data. So that's agentic AI for you. We will talk about agentic AI later on. Let's just focus on generative AI. Now, generative AI, in simple terms, it's a simple English keyword, right? Generation. Generative AI is generation, right? What can be generated? Languages can be generated, like speech can be generated, text can be generated, videos can be generated, right? So, textual part, everybody knows. ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a best example of textual generation. Talking about visual generation, video generation is there, audio generation is there, these kind of things are there. So in video generation, just note it down, you can explore it later on. OpenAI has recently launched Sora, Sora. So Sora is for video generation, right? I'm just writing out down in the chat box. DAL-E is image generation. For textual generation, we have ChatGPT, different versions of it. 3.5 is there, GPT 4o is there, GPT 4o mini is there. Recently, we have DeepSeek, we have Gemini, we have Llama, and there are many, many other things. Alibaba also has its own textual generation large language model. So that's basically the different use cases of generative AI. Right now, in 2025 and 2026, more focus is on the textual part. Images and videos, in industry level, there are not much of use cases. Very, very few companies have use cases around image generation. Video generation is yet to be explored, but majority of the company, I would say 99% of the company, are focusing more on textual generation. Okay, so in the field of textual generation also, we will try to understand. Now, before getting into this field of prompts, I would like to go towards Miro board, where I can try to explain you some basic concepts even before we learn about prompts and all. Okay, because today's topic is all about NLP and LLM basics. LLM is nothing but large language model. Okay, so I'm just writing it down: large language models. And NLP is nothing but natural language processing. Okay, so natural language processing is literally a prerequisite to generative AI. The reason being, especially when we are talking about textual generation, we are talking about text generation, right? And whenever it comes to text, NLP is basically the core concept. What is NLP? Right now, the session is going on. I'm speaking in English and all of you are able to understand me, I assume. And that's because you know English and I know English. Now, if I start talking in, let's say, my own regional language, let's say Hindi, many of you might not be able to understand it unless and until you come from India, right? Or Pakistan. So that's because we understand these languages. Now, how will computers understand what you're trying to say? So let's say I want to say the computer, the movie was good. We know that it's a positive sentiment, right? I'm talking good about the movie. How will the computers understand? So computers will understand because I will eventually be able to kind of create a word embedding, as in from textual data I'm converting them into numbers and then I'm feeding to the computer, because computer only understands bytes, right? In zeros and ones and numerical attributes, no textual attribute, right? So everything, all of these concepts basically comes under NLP, natural language processing. Okay. Now, in natural language processing, there are multiple things that you should know. For example, let's say I'm doing a translation work, right? Let's say, um, how are you, right? Now, I'm not 100% sure about Spanish, but I think I mean, I think in Spanish it is como estas. So let's say I want to feed how are you to my computer model, right? And my computer model or my NLP model or my, in the background, which is a machine learning model, should be able to translate it, right? Now, what I'm passing is a whole sentence. In NLP, the very first thing that we do is tokenization. Okay. Tokenization is one of the most important concepts. Okay. What is tokenization? Tokenization is basically breaking down a sentences into tokens. Okay. So here you can actually call this as a token, R as a token, U as a token, question mark as a token. So this is basically called as tokenization. Okay. Now, again, in tokenization, there are different concepts like word tokenization is there, subword tokenization is there. Subword basically means, let's say, running. If you use a word tokenization, it will be running. If you use a subword tokenization, it will be running, something like this. So it will be divided into two tokens. That's why tokenization is important. And there are different types of tokenization, which is not necessary for us to understand right now. But after tokenization is done, our very next step in NLP is word embeddings. Basically, converting a particular sentence into a vector format or into a number format. Let's say, how are you is converted into, let's say, 100, 111, 110, 110, something like this. Or it could be a simple something like this, right? There are different types of word embedding techniques. Bag of words is there, CBOW, skip grams. Again, I don't want to go into depth of word embeddings. Just try to understand the core concepts. And we have a dedicated, 1 day session where, in case you are interested, you can enroll, and we will try to jump into these topics and try to explore more about it in that day, right? We'll talk about that later. So word embeddings are there, but the whole concept of word embedding is converting tokens into vector format. Because eventually this vector format will be gone into the machine learning model or the computer model, right? And computers only understand numbers. So natural language processing is very, very important. Now, talking about large language models, okay? Before talking about large language models, I want to technically talk little bit about a core concept which is transformers. Many of you might not be able to understand this because transformers is a very, very crucial technical topic. I will try to make it easier for you to understand. Okay. Now, transformers is not a new topic. Transformers came into picture long, long back, around 1997. Transfer, yeah, the first concept of transformer was pitched around 1997, and there were different papers. In 2004, there was a paper. 2007, there was a paper, and from this transformers actually comes the concept of GPT, which is generative pre-trained transformers concept. Now, transformers is basically of two types. Okay, let me just draw. I'm trying to converge like a whole 20-30 hour session into 1 hour. So many of the things might be missed, but I will try to make sure that you understand. Okay. So this is your input. Let's say I'm taking the same input. How are you? So there are three inputs. Now here what's happening is, and you're getting the output, comma, is this. Okay. So this transformers basically has two parts. One of them is encoder. Encoder's task is simply take the input, encode it down, and send it to the decoder. And this is the decoder. Okay. Now the translation logic is in the decoder. Okay. Now when it comes to transformers, this is how it looks like. Now, again, after transformers, there were certain drawbacks of transformers which many scientists observed. That's why there was another invention across the time which is called as a encoder only architecture. So transformers has both encoder and decoder. In the encoder you are passing something, in the decoder you are getting an output, right? Encoder basically helps you to kind of do text summarization and various other NLP tasks. Decoder has its own applications. Okay. So scientists basically thought that there are a lot of NLP tasks. Some of them is done perfectly well by the encoder. Some of them is done perfectly done well by the decoder. So why don't we just separate these modules and let encoder only architecture handle or be a specialist in certain NLP tasks, and be the decoder only architecture to be a expert in certain NLP tasks. So that's why they broke down into two different concepts, which is encoder only architecture, and the second one is decoder only architecture. Encoder only architecture, many of you might have heard about this. There are some models called as BERT. Anybody knows about BERT? Just tell me yes or no. BERT, bidirectional encoder only representation of transformers. Might have heard about, right? Some people who have little bit like around two or three level of knowledge in this space, they might have heard about it, right? So again, there are different versions of BERT. There is Robert, there is Albert, Roberta. There is Distilbert and various other things. And all of these are specialized on text summarization activities. Let's say you have a huge bunch of text, let's say a huge blog, or let's say you are going through a YouTube video and somehow you have transcribed the entire video. So the entire language textual data is like huge, right? Like 50 lines. You want to summarize it. You can do only with the encoder only architecture. So BERT will be able to do it. So what you're passing is the whole passage or the paragraph. As part of the output, you are only getting the summarized output. Okay. Similarly, decoder only architecture is nothing but GPT. And this is where generative AI, chat GPT, all of this comes into picture. Chat GPT, Llama, all these models that you are interacting. So in Hong Kong we have POE.com, right? We don't have OpenAI unless you have VPN, right? So here, let's say you're asking a question, translate how are you to Spanish, and it is answering you, right? How are you in Spanish is this. So there is something that you are asking, and the model is responding you back, right? That's basically a decoder only architecture. You also call it as GPT, which is generative pre-trained transformers. Okay. Now, in decoder only architecture, you basically do not have this part. This part is not there. One thing that comes to my mind is, if this part is not there, what is going as an input to this model? I understand there is an output, fine. But what is the input? The input to a decoder only architecture is nothing but prompt. And that is what you are asking. Whatever you are asking to ChatGPT or to POE is nothing but a prompt. Now, little bit more about this concept. So you have a model, right? Let's say ChatGPT. And when you are asking a prompt, let's say my prompt is, let's say I will write a 5 minute script for my YouTube channel on the topic of introduction to Gen AI. Okay. Now that's basically my prompt, right? So let's say my prompt is this. Now, what's going to happen is, from the prompt, you're basically extracting the tokens, right? From the tokens, you are actually doing the word embeddings, right? Word embeddings is there. While you are doing the word embeddings, there are certain word embeddings which basically understands the concept, the context from the input. Now, in this question that you are asking, what is the context? If I ask you what is the context, you will be able to tell. You are basically asking for a script for a video on this topic, right? So basically, this is the context, right? So based on the context, the word embeddings are created. Now, what happens is ChatGPT is already there, right? I'm talking about, let's say, one of the models, let's say GPT 4o, okay? One of the models that came last year. Now, GPT 4o is trained with trillions of data. GPT models are trained with trillions of data. They are trained with new news data, Google data, Wikipedia data, various other journals, and various documents. Right, like a lot of things are being trained in this particular model. Right now, what happens is, from this lot of things, you're basically storing all of this information as vector data, right? You are not storing the data as textual data. Of course, you will be storing it as vector data. Now, what happens is, when you're asking a question from this word embedding, you're basically going and trying to get all the relevant information. Now, let's say here, out of these trillions of data, there could be trillions of word vectors, trillions of word vectors, right? Wherever there is the best match of this topic, let's say this, and let's say this, you're basically getting all the relevant information, and then OpenAI or GPT is basically helping you to do the chat completion, right? So let's say you get three different sentences, and from these three different sentences, ChatGPT is basically helping you to do the chat completion. So it is basically, out of these three sentences relevant information, it is generating some text around it. So that is what the generative part is, and hence you are able to get the output. If you randomly ask a question without a context, ChatGPT will still answer, but it's not relevant, right? So always make sure when you are writing down a prompt, you should always mention the context, right? Now, if I ask you a random question, write an essay. If I ask you this question, write an essay. The very first question that he will ask is, "Sir, tell me the topic." Right now, here when I'm asking a question, it is basically taking all my historical conversation. It is able to understand that I'm talking with respect to generative AI. That's why it has given an essay related to generative AI. Now, if I start a new chatbot, let's say a new assistant, write an essay, it will not give the same topic, right? It is asking you, well, this is a good assistant. I think we can explore GPT-4 if possible. So nowadays, the latest models are being little bit intelligent, but in GPT 3.5 or in older versions, it was randomly giving some topic which is out of context. Like there is no context, it's still answering, right? So make sure that your prompt is having a context. But this is how the things work, right? In your GPT architecture, prompt basically goes as an input. Now, we'll talk little bit about prompt. Okay. So I'm going back to the slide. What goes as an input to the models are prompts, which is the basic fundamentals of large language models. Okay. So this is an example of a prompt. Prompts are converted into tokens, which is chunks of words, punctuation marks, pixels, etc. Then the system analyzes which is likely to come next based on the tokens in its own dataset, as many as 32,000 in GPT-4. So, and after that, it basically takes the input as tokens and word embeddings, and then it generates the next word by word, right? That is how things work. A little bit more about prompt engineering. Prompt engineering is a very important topic. There are multiple courses online, but I believe that students should learn prompt engineering by themselves. By going through courses, it won't help. Prompt engineering comes with experience and knowledge. The more prompts you write to ChatGPT, automatically you will be able to understand the flaws in the answers. Automatically, you will be able to rephrase the prompts, and that's how you learn. So, when I talk about prompt engineering, there are six different things that are very important. I hope my handwriting is visible to you. In case it is not, just let me know, okay? So, one of them is context, one of them is task, one of them is persona, the fourth one is exemplar or simply examples, the fifth one is formatting, and the sixth one is tone, okay? Now, context means topic, right? What you want to do. Do you want to generate a YouTube script on a particular topic, or you want to ask ChatGPT to behave like like a AI career coach and help you out with your resume building process? You have to explicitly mention that, right? What is the topic? What is the task that you're expecting the ChatGPT to do, right? Task is nothing but what exactly you want them to do, right? Persona basically means the identity. Let's say let's say let's say I want to pass my resume. I'm not sure if I can. Let's say, do I have my profile in PDF? I do have. So as AI career coach. Please review my resume and let me know what my strong skills are and what skills am I missing if I apply for a data architect role. I think it should be able to answer. Um, so you can see that what's happening here is I have explicitly asked ChatGPT to behave like a career coach, right? So if you do not mention this part as an AI career coach, if you directly give them, please review my resume, it might not be able to do a proper work, proper job. So always make sure you tell ChatGPT how to behave. Let's say you want, let's say you have your medical reports, right? You have gone for a blood test, you have a medical report, somehow you are confused what these reports are, you can ask ChatGPT, or maybe you can create your own GPT model where you can ask them that, boss, behave like a general practitioner or a expert general practitioner, go through my report and tell me what the issues are and how to fix these issues. So that's basically the persona. Examples is something like, let's say you already have a script. So for example, I will try to create a new tab. Example is something like this. Let's say I already have a set of questions. Let's say some of some of the top interview questions asked in ML interviews are, let's say you are working as a working in a telecom company, you built a churn prediction model. How would you maintain the model and how would you retrain them when required? Generate some questions similar to this. Generate some questions, maybe 5 questions similar to this. So what's basically being asked here is, I have given an example. So ChatGPT understands the type of question I'm expecting. I have given a scenario based question, right? And that's how ChatGPT is also responding. You can see all the questions are little bit scenario based. If I give more examples, ChatGPT will be able to understand that I want more and more scenario based questions, not just random questions like what is machine learning, what is the difference between this and that. Those kind of questions are not asked in interviews, right? So here I'm giving an example. So that's basically called as examples. Formatting is something like, if you are expecting ChatGPT or a GPT model to answer in a particular format, let's say, let's say write a 5-minute YouTube script for a video on introduction to Gen AI. Make sure you start the script with a hook and end with a question mark for the audience, and make sure the script has bullet points. So, bullet points here is basically the formatting part. And you can see it has given main bullet points. And you can see I have also added something like start the script with a hook. Hook basically means when you're creating a video, the first few lines has to be impactful so that audiences are attached to your video and they don't get bored in the first few seconds, right? So imagine a world where machines can create art, write stories and blah blah blah. And then you can see that the script also ends with a question mark. Do you see it as a tool for creativity? And such question marks helps as an audience. People usually comment down on the videos and it helps in growth, right? So that's how you write a prompt. The more elaborative you would like to write, the better output you will get. So always make sure that these six things are maintained. Tone is something like, in what tone do you want? As in, let's say, let's say the same thing. Um, Make sure the script has some humor, humor, humor in it. So basically, humor is the tone. So there will be humor in it, right? You want to make it look funny, you want to make it look angry, something like that. So that's basically your tone. So these are the six important things you should always focus when you are doing the prompts, when you're writing the prompts. And that's all about prompt engineering. Apart from that, there are some bookish terms, like there are three types of writing a prompt, which is a zero shot prompt, there is a one shot prompt, and there are few short prompts. Now, this means without any context, no examples, one examples, and multiple examples. And this is what this particular script is. Apart from that, nowadays there are some new ways of writing prompts, which is chain of thoughts, tree of thoughts, and all these are little bit technical, which we will be going through in the one day session that we have on 12th of Feb. Right. So these are some advanced topics. So I will not be covering today. Now that we still have like 5-10 minutes, I would like to quickly explain you something about the next topics, which is, uh, I mean, this is going to be the last topic, very important topic, RAGs. The full form of RAGs is retrieval augmented generation. Okay. Now, the reason why RAGs were introduced is very simple. Now, let's say, I have, okay, no issues, Amy. Let's say I'm going to a company's platform, let's say my VI, or let's say Vodafone Idea. Okay, so Vodafone Idea is basically one of the telecom companies in India. My idea is very simple. What I'm going to do is, I am a Vodafone user. Okay, my last month bill was, let's say, $2,000. Usually, I get a bill of $50 to $100, not more than that. But last month bill was $2,000. Now, as a user, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to see, first of all, there is a chatbot, but it's not that responsive. So what I'll do is, I'll go here and ask, my bill was too high. I'm not able to get enough information on this website. Let's say I will go to ChatGPT and I will ask, my Vodafone bill last month was $2,000. I don't know why it was high. Can you check? Okay, simple question. Now, what ChatGPT is responding is, it is speculating what might have gone wrong, right? It is not giving you a proper response or the exact reason why the bill was $2,000. And what is the reason behind it? Because I am asking a very specific question, right? Question very specific to Vodafone company, question very specific to my billing, right? So in case you do not have access to Vodafone's database, or you do not have access to my bill, you will not be able to answer, right? As a human being, let's say now there are 66 participants in this call. If I ask you the same question, my Vodafone bill is high or my CSL bill is high, can you check? You will not be able to check, right? So you will simply say, I cannot check as a human being. But as ChatGPT is still giving me some random answers. Now, this scenario is called as hallucination, where ChatGPT or any kind of GPT models, they hallucinate, they do not understand the concept, and then they still answer something which makes no sense. And to solve these kind of problems, we have RAGs. RAGs helps you in creating a chatbot or a large language model with your own custom data. Imagine OpenAI has an access to the Vodafone database. OpenAI also has an access to my bill. Now, if you ask a question, why my bill is $2,000, it will potentially go through the database and try to see and tell, oh, there were some international calls that you have done. That's why your bill is high. Only it is able to answer because it has access to the custom data. And that is what RAGs is helping in. RAG helps in building a large language model with a custom data. Right. Quickly, we'll go through one example. We just have 3 to 4 minutes left, and then we will take Q&A. We will have a short Q&A session. One use case, and you should be able to understand what I'm talking about. Okay. So one use case is simplest example. Let's say, let's say I have a RAG paper, right? Everybody reads about research papers. Many of you might be doing it, many of you might not be. Research papers are very lengthy, right? I myself get bored in going through the entire research papers. So let's say I will try to open one of them. I have multiple research papers, must be here. Just give me 1 second. Rag paper, yeah, rag paper. Okay. Now this is one of the research papers related to rags. Okay. Can we send together? Yes, we can. We can do wonders, especially with custom data. So let's say this is my rack paper. Okay, how many pages are there? 19. Trust me, somebody who comes from a research background, myself, I also get bored in going through the entire paper because it is little bit boring, right? Honestly speaking. But how can we leverage large language model so that language model goes through this and I just simply ask some questions and I should get my answers? Now this is where RAG comes into picture. Okay, so what happens is the architecture looks like this. Let's say you have your research paper, right? Research paper, I will just write it down as um, paper, right? Or PDF. You have your PDF, and this is a 19-page PDF, right? The very first thing that we do is we break down the PDF into chunks. Okay, say um, Tiger Woods Wikipedia. Everybody must know about Tiger Woods. Now, if I ask you, can you memorize this entire 2 paragraphs? Just memorize it, and then I will close this window, and then you have to translate it into Cantonese or any comfortable language that you are comfortable with. It's not possible, right? As a human being, it's not possible. The only way it is possible is you read it line by line and you translate it line by line, right? Human brain will not be able to process everything at once. While doing a conversion of this line, you might forget about this line, right? That's reality. And exactly like a human brain, neural networks also works, right? So it's always better to break down so that the model understands it properly, right? So chunking down is very important. After chunking down is done, then comes embeddings. You're creating word embeddings from this PDF document. Now these word embeddings are getting stored somewhere. Okay, I will write it down as a vector database. People also use vector index. Okay, in simple format, just think it as a database where all the word embeddings are stored. Okay, um, that's it, right? Now let's say I have created a front end. I am a user. In the front end, I want to ask a question. Okay, what is this paper all about? Can you summarize in 3 lines? This is what the question I'm asking. Okay, Now, what will happen is from this question, again, tokenization will be done and again, word embeddings will be created. Right. Now, here you already have word embeddings from this PDF document, right? There could be thousands and thousands of word embeddings. Now, from this, what you do is you go and try to look at the most matching embeddings. Let's say this, and this are matching. Then what happens is your input word embedding along with your matched word embedding. I will write it down as relevant information. This goes into OpenAI. Okay, OpenAI, and then OpenAI basically does the chat completion, and then you get the same output, like whatever the final output given by this model on this front end. And this is a general RAG architecture. Now, here instead of one PDF, you can have hundreds of PDF, no problem, right? And there is another flow here, like somewhere here we also have prompt template that we actually write it down in the Python code that behave as a research analyst or a research scientist and go through these documents and give the output as expected by the user, something like that. So prompt templates are also mentioned in the Python codes. Again, when we do a end-to-end project, especially on Feb 12th, we will talk more about how these pieces are working with each other. Okay, that's basically all about today's session. I just wanted to give you a very quick overview about what's happening in the space of generative AI. There are hundreds of use cases that we can discuss. Of course, this is just one example, and I have built more than 40 proof of concepts and many products for our clients as well. We will try to discuss all those things in the session, in the 12th Feb session. So jumping on to the PPT, I think I have covered most of the things. What are the different job roles to explore? Prompt engineering, AI research scientist, Gen AI engineer, AI researcher, and the list goes on. Many different companies have different terminologies, right? You should always look at the job description and then start applying for jobs. Industry level use cases, many of them. RAG chatbots are there, AI career chatbots are there, research paper chatbots, content creation, AI claims processing, many things are there, sustainability chatbots. That's it. So on your screen, what you have is the course registration for the session that we have on 12th of Feb. Rachel, do you want to talk about it if you want to?
Yeah, hope everyone got a taste of Seth's knowledge and also passions about AI. There's also more to be explored, especially if you have some technical background. So next Wednesday, we'll be hosting a paid course with HKPC. So if you want to learn more about the course, you can scan the QR code. We'll send you a follow-up email as well to see if you're interested or have any questions. Feel free to reach out to us if you got more questions. Thanks, everyone. Any questions? I know we overran a little bit, but any questions now that I think we have a couple of minutes that we can also answer?
Yeah. Questions. Anybody has any questions? Oh, there are. Oh, there is a Q and A section actually. Let me explore that. Okay. Most of them are chat disabled. Okay. Any questions, guys? How LLM works and prepares? Yeah. So basically, large language model. When I talk about the original models, right? OpenAI models, they are trained with trillions of data, right? They also work in the same fashion that I just explained the RAG concept. Whenever there is a new data, let's say OpenAI team is working on a new version of OpenAI, let's say 5.0 or 6.0 or 7.0, right? They keep on looking at all the information that they can get from the internet. There are different scrapers, because it's a very long, like it's a very huge project, right? It is not doable by a single person. As an organization, they are doing it. So they must be scraping information from various portals, and then eventually they will be converting it into word embeddings, and then feeding it to a model. And finally, once the model is ready, they are exposing the model as an API, and we as AI developers are going to use those APIs for our specific use cases. So this is a concept of pre-trained models. OpenAI is already giving you a model, or Llama is already giving you a model. We as AI developers, let's say we are working into banking or insurance or telecom, we have our own use cases, right? We have our own data. So we can only find use that model as a pre-trained model, feed our own data. In the prompt template, we ask these are the things you need to do, and that's how we do the task. We will have some practical sessions on 12th. You will have a better understanding on that.
I think Wilson has a question.
Yeah,
Wilson.
Python programming is important. What is the basic equipment of computer for AI? Well, um, see, there are some models which do not require GPUs. So GPUs are not hard requirement. In case you do not have GPUs, you can still create models. Nothing to worry about. It's all about learning, right? So you can learn without a GPU as well. With GPUs, it makes your life easier because you can explore more and more models. But without GPUs also, it is doable. But of course, if you are looking at a uh, industry standpoint, let's say you want to create an application or a project for your company, deploy it, of course, from that point of view, GPUs will be needed. But for practicing and all, GPUs are not needed. Okay, assuming there are no more questions. Okay, there is a question in the Q&A section. I want to know more about how to build a LLM or tune the model in ChatGPT to improve performance for better output, which fit practical use case in workplace. Yeah, we can discuss that on 12th of Feb. Physically, when we jump into that session, we can discuss that. You cannot build a LLM from scratch, but yeah, fine tuning a model can be done. Um, so should we wind up the call, Rachel? What do you think?
Yeah. Thanks a lot for everyone's time. Hope you took away something and find it useful. Feel free to connect, reach out to us on LinkedIn. We're available. Or if you're more interested to explore the technical aspects or how to apply or even build some model, there's a course next Wednesday. So have a great one. Happy Friday, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.